Oh. Today's video is a little frustrating, and it's probably one of the most expensive videos I've made because it was inspired, unfortunately, by me taking my downcountry bike down a road and having a cobble clip up into the rear derailleur and absolutely annihilating this almost brand new Dura-Ace / XTR chain. But don't worry, that's not the worst of the problems. Nowadays, that whole thing was triggered by this derailleur going up into the spokes of the wheel, smashing this UDH. And don't worry, it's not just the hanger that's gone on this. The cable stop ripped off of the body of this thing. It's only XTR though, real cheap. And I can't show you the wheel that's at the shop right now. It's probably about 500 bucks US, 700 Canadian, the total bill for this accident. Back in the day though, in simpler times, when we had triple gears in the front and 7-speed cogs in the back and 7 to 9-speed chains, there was no such thing as hyperglide. There was no such thing as transmission. Shift ramps were someone's dream at that time, so we tended to break a lot of chains. And we were actually experts at fixing chains back then. Nowadays, we've kind of regressed a bit, and life has gotten a lot simpler because of the invention of the chain quick link. And I got a whole box of them here. And I hope anyone that's riding has a couple of these with them when they're out and about. Because when you do actually break a chain nowadays, you're going to use these to fix it. And life is a lot simpler. Today I'm going to review, and I've got a whole box of them here, of chain tools. And I'm also going to give you some pointers on getting chain links apart, and just some tips and tricks that might help you if you have an unfortunate accident like I did last week. I know you want this bike. The scary thing is we used to race this stuff back in the day. This was a Kona race light. This didn't have the top of the line spec on it, but privateers would race bikes like this. As I said before, 3 in the front, 7 in the back, no shift ramps. Chain technology was a long way from where it is now. Most of the times when you broke a chain, it was because you were in your middle chain ring and you shifted down into your tiny granny. It went over, hit the bottom bracket, maybe even if it was muddy, and then you put full power down and boom, snap chain. Either that or you broke it in a cross chain. Fair enough. But nowadays, we don't have to worry about that anymore. And as I pointed out in my accident that I had, which was quite expensive, you got your derailleurs hanging down on this bike. The derailleur might even drag the ground because this is 26-inch wheels. Other than one dumbass road incident, I haven't broken a chain in a while on a road bike. Gravel and mountain, though, with one by is a different story, and this gets quite expensive. That's 3 this year, by the way. All of them took out the chain, too. If you listen to one thing I say in this video, please get a section of chain that's representative of the chain you have on your bike and try it with your existing mini chain tool just to make sure the thing is functional and get used to it. It may save you a lot of bother sometime in the future. Today we're going to use the Park CT3 as a baseline tool. Obviously you wouldn't carry this. It's a great shop tool, especially for the money. We're going to look at a Lezyne tool. Now to be fair, the actual chain portion of this probably accounts for about 25 grams of this tool, so it's quite light. An old school toe peak tool, which is probably the heaviest if you consider everything. That's the essential parts of the day saver to make it a chain breaker. A Granite Designs handlebar mode mount. Your specialized SWAT headset type mount. EDC Generation 2. an EDC Generation 1. And finally, a Zitto, but it's not fair. Other than the multi-tool you need to drive it, you need one other piece. So I'm going to throw in this little plug lever as it's quite light. I'm going to rate these tools based on how they perform. But remember, you're not looking for perfection when you're out in the field. You're just looking for the damn thing to work. The ratings I have are functional plus, which means it works almost as well as your shop tool. Functional means it working just fine. Barely functional, meaning that it's a struggle bus, but it will work. And finally, non-functional, meaning it's not going to work for you. With all the mishaps I've had, no problems finding broken chains to use for testing. For the test, I'm specifically using an XTR chain in its busted format. But what I'm doing today would also be applicable to 11-speed Shimano chains. I haven't tested a SRAM chain today, but I'm sure it's applicable too. As a benchmark, I'm using the CT3 just to drive a pin, see what it feels like. You can remove this handle to make it more compact, and it's got this little chain spanning tool in it, which is great on the bike. This is the only chain tool of the bunch where you've got two positions, so you can drive out a pin and try to reinstall a pin too. Although it's pretty hairy nowadays with these 11 and 12 speed chains. What I recommend with this tool is to push down on it slightly to make sure the chain is seated. But there's absolutely no problems with this one driving a pin. The Lezyme is a little bit more awkward, but you got plenty of leverage holding this. It's just that if you have weak hands, holding this and bracing, it's a bit of an issue. But let's drive a pin. You can see it took me a while, and if you don't have strong hands, this one would be a challenge. I'm going to call this barely functional. I've already done a review of the Day Saver in another video, but I really like this tool. One of the issues I've got is over time is if you use this a lot, you may wear out its interface of the chain tool with the plastic tire tool. The main thing with the Day Saver is getting it lined up, but once you do, there's really good leverage on it. And there's absolutely no issues driving pins. I would call this functional plus. There's a little bit more screwing around with it though to get the pin out. Now we have the granite designs. So what you do here is you remove the rod, install it in here, and I think this is a bit of a miss. They could have made that into a bacon strip inserter or done something else with this. Just oriented this way. I always recommend lining the chain up by screwing this in with your hands first, then putting the torque on with the tool. You can also get more torque if you extend the lever or the arms on the other side of your multi-tool. Like that. Absolutely no issues whatsoever. Having this long rod really helps hold it. This is also a functional plus tool. Specialized SWAT tool requires a little bit of faffing around to get it out of the headset. The key with it is to hold the chain in there to get it lined up. Then get the pin lined up. This tool is functional. The only issue I have is it'd be nice to have this bigger so it's not as hard on your hands when you're trying to resist the rotation when you're driving the pin. A lot less screwing around with the day saver retracting it though. Not a huge fan of storing your chain links exposed to the elements on the Specialized tool. 1UP Generation 1 ETC. I've already undone this and rotated the head around. One of my issues with this is how small the driving pin head is. Although I'll mention I've used ETC tools for quite a while and I've never had an issue wrecking one of these. What's funky about this is it's a pain in the ass to line up the bolt. That was a pain in the keister. I'm giving this barely functional. Now we have EDC version 2. You can see on this one you don't have to bend the chain in a funky configuration. I'm going to call this one functional, although it'd be really nice if they had put a cradle in here so that you could position the chain rather than having to faff around lining up the pin. But not too bad. Generally a fantastic improvement over version 1. Also, you had to rotate the head around before you started driving. This is a Zitto one that I bought on AliExpress, but it is a copy of a chain tool designed by, I believe it is a company called Clever Standard. I'd have more faith in their designs over this one. But what you do is you remove the driving pin, you remove the sleeve, and then the beauty of this design is that the chain has the line up, but there's an issue. See if I can do that. I can't get a 12-speed chain down into this. I'm sure if I went and ground that down a little bit, it would work fine. But I've got an 11-speed chain here, so I'll put that in. No big deal. Then you replace the sleeve, and then you put the driving pin in. Hand tighten it down. And this is where it gets funky. No worried about breaking that bolt. Then I'm going to assume I got a tire lever here for leverage, or not a tire, bacon strip driver. Let's try this. Oh, that's done. Just put that in the garbage bin. Okay, I'll assume I got a better tool or I borrowed a buddy's tool. Oh, that took quite a bit of an effort. And pin out. This one, well, it's non-functional with the 12-speed chain, and I would say because of the issue of having something to counter this, depending on what you got here, I'm going to call this barely functional. Just a caveat on the test before I go any further. I do hand strength exercises, so remember my advice on trying these first. I may not be the best person to judge the effort. As far as multi-tool and complete functionality, the winner is the Day Saver. As far as pure functional plus, let's call it chain driving, the Granite Designs is an absolute surprise and a pleasure to work with. The Toe Peak, considering its weight, is a disappointment, but it's the only tool that you can drive a pin out and try to reinstall it. The 1UP version 2 and SWAT, they're functional. There's nothing wrong with those. The Lezyme one, installed in the tool, and 1UP version 1, these are barely functional. And finally, this Zitto one, which is a ripoff of the Clever Standard, is non-functional, but I'm sure I could screw around with it, but generally a disappointment. The other hot tip, any chain link on a chain you're going to throw out, just keep them as an emergency spare. They're a little too expensive just to be putting new ones in your bag. The Granite Designs link separator works absolutely fantastic. So does the 1UP Designs one. But these weigh a bit. There's a guy on YouTube that's got a video showing you separating this with a shoestring. Fantastic. This, though, weighs an incredible 4 grams. If you go to construction twine, let me show you this stuff. I think you can get this at any concrete or hardware store. This weighs about 1.5 grams. See if I can get this to work. If it was on the bike, it'd be a lot easier. Voila. There's another video, I think it was by Bike Raider or GCN, where you can also put it on your chain ring in this configuration, and then what you do is you hit the link right here, and as you see here, this side will get panded down to remove the link. But I really don't think this is a good idea, pounding stuff on your expensive chain rings. I'd try the twine first. If you end up with a sheared portion of chain, you can either take these links out and replace it with a quick link, or if it's over a long section or you're out of quick links, the next best option is to, let's grab a tool here. And if you can, this is probably not going to work too well, it's the last resort, but try to rotate it back. See, I've almost got it right there. It's actually functional. The arrow on the quick link should be pointing on the lower section of the chain towards the back of the bike, as this is the direction of rotation of the chain. Please don't tell anyone, but the drawer derailleur I put on to replace the XTR one I wrecked, I don't notice any difference in shifting performance. If you have to shorten your chain, adjust your limit screw immediately on your derailleur. If you think that your thumb and your brain can communicate, do not shift into the largest clog, my chain is too short, it doesn't work that way. This was a video of me using the toe peak to put a chain back together using one of the existing pins. after screwing around for quite a while, then trying it with the CT3, I could not get it to work at all. So I would not recommend doing this or considering you're going to be able to do this in the field. Just bring a whole bunch of extra links with you. If you have a stiff link in your chain, try just flexing it back and forth before taking drastic measures. That may loosen it up. Final hot tip. Don't tell me that Shimano quick links are not reusable. I do it all the time. Never had a problem. Although I don't recommend going against the manufacturer's recommendations. I think this one is BS. As a home mechanic, this Park CT3 is perfectly adequate. But if you took this away from me, I'd have no problems using either this little toe peak one or the surprise of the test to me, this Granite Designs tool. This is the standout. But remember, we're only looking for tools that are functional. In that case, it hasn't given me enough reason to get rid of the small fortune in EDC tools that I have from One-Up Components. But say, for instance, those EDC tools were all stolen. I'd probably replace them on every bike with a day saver because to me, this is a total package standout. I'll take a page out of Silka's marketing. I am going to redefine the chain link tool category with the new, lightest chain pliers known to humankind. They'll be available on my website, maebiker.com for $50 each. With that, like, subscribe. If you got a question or comment, put it down below. If you think I've done something wrong, bring it up. I'll correct it in the description if that's the case. Otherwise, it's getting cold out, but you still got to go out and ride hard.